I like that. So this one we're gonna go for everybody, right? Because there's a kid in all of us, man. But what accomplishment are you most proud of yourself for? Grandma says a poor frog can't praise his own harm. So if anybody should be able to speak passionately about you, it's you. Right? And waiting on somebody else to do it, well, good luck. So, what are you proud of? I'll go first. I can always say the weight thing because it really was, man. It was transformational and it's mind-blowing. I still have the size 60 pants that I do push-ups on every day. Just to remind myself, man, of where I came from. But I like to say that I'm proud that I found my purpose in life, why I'm here. I think that's a question that, for those that want to face that, can be big. And we had a conversation with Dr. Margaret, and it was awesome to hear her say this. So, like I said, we do these talks virtual, and this past Sunday, we were doing a show called I Love Me More. We're actually finishing that series called I Love Me More, and it's it was a self-love wellness series. And one of the people that we got a chance to talk to was Dr. Margaret, Margaret A. Brunson at Durham. And one of the things she said was, stop demystifying this thing called purpose. Because we make it sound so grandiose, like, when you find your purpose. And oftentimes it finds you. It often is birthed from the pain that you've experienced in your past or traumatic situations that rubbed you in such a way that it pushed you and unctioned you. Chief, you talked about it. Your purpose is the thing that's like, man, I wish this would do this. Oh, man, I wish I could do that. Oh, man, that's your purpose. It rubs you the wrong way. And when Tyson was at Con Elementary, I was able to solve a relationship over chicken and biscuits at the lunchroom table. And that's what catapulted to us being at this table now. That was 4 years ago, 5 in June. So between that, Bishop speaking this into my life, I used to be the armor bearer to Bishop Graves. He died in December 2019. He spoke this into my life. I laughed at it. Because prophecy speaks to the potential, not where you're at. And 5 years ago, there's no way in the world you can tell me that being this guy. Especially with the chief of police. Not me. Not this guy. All right? So, what are you most proud of? What excites you? So we'll start with you. What are you most proud of?
What am I most proud of? I always tell my students that your dash life. And so what is that? What is your dash? And so when you look at a headstone and you see when you were born and when you passed away, that dash in the middle, what did you do? What did you conquer? Who did you help? Who did you support? Did you do anything? Were you a productive citizen of some sort? So I think that, it still goes back to the work that I do now in the community and on my job. And I really feel that I feel good about the work that I do on the job because there's so many people that I've touched. And put a shameless plug in there. I'm also a Girl Scout leader. Go for Girl Scouts. So just pouring into other folks and just trying to be there for extended family, friends, my community, just whatever I can be as a servant. I'm not a celebrity.
How about yourself, young queen? What are you proud of?
Today, just today, I had braids in my hair this morning, and they were like overdue braids. And then I remembered I had to come here tonight. And I took them out within 2 hours, and I had to wash it. But like overall lifespan, I wanted to do engineering since I was very young in elementary school, and just earlier this year I actually figured out I wanted to do architectural engineering because I never knew which kind of engineering.
Very good.
And I appreciate you opening it up. See, all that stuff is starting to melt, right? You're feeling comfortable, and I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing. How about yourself, Dr. Mo?
I'm a professor and I teach several courses, but one of them is human behavior. And so I've done a lot of reflection lately because I'm in my middle adulthood, which is 55, and I'm proud to say that I'm 55. My students say I don't look it. I think they get 1 A's, that I still have a little swag. But you start to reflect and say, you know, on the things of what you've done, what you think you could have accomplished or not accomplished. So it's really big in what I'm thinking about lately. But I think I'm most proud of the legacy that I think I have left. So, you know, not to make this morbid, but if I am taking home tomorrow, a lot of the people that I poured into say if it wasn't for you, I don't know where I would be. And you don't know when you are helping someone, right, that's what you're doing. Like, you just don't know. Perfect example, I have 2 young men that I met at Shaw University who had very, very hard lives. One's mother was in jail. The other was maybe 9 people in their family, and father was on drugs or whatever. And so when I met them at Shaw University at the age of 18, they needed some guidance, but I never gave up on them. One will say, and he now is a dean at Lewisburg College, and he will say that I failed him 5 times. That that's not true. I failed him 3 times, but I saw something in him. And so those young men now are helping my daughter. Never knew that because they used to come to my house for Thanksgiving, whatever, and I was not making a lot of money at Shore. Not that I'm rich now either, but whatever I had, I would share with them. And so now they are almost 30 years old. And my daughter was at UNC Charlotte, and she needed a place to stay. They said, "We got you, mother. She can stay here." So you never know when you're helping someone else how that's going to come full fold. But again, the legacy that I leave. A lot of the students, again, like, you know, I just see them now, doctors, lawyers, and I'm like, I taught you? You know, and they come back and say, yes, if it wasn't for you. So the legacy, and while I'm still here on this earth, I want to continue to be a mentor, not just only for, like, just for everyone, but for women of color. One of the things that and I want to speak to, you said, why are we doing this? And this is just my own philosophy, but I think that we still have that crab in the barrel mentality. We still have that mentality that, you know, you can't get further than I can get. And so I know from social work, I'm going to say this, that you can make differences on a micro level. So, you know, sometimes we have to start there. And so if you can reach back and help one person, when I talk about training my future social workers, if you make a difference with that client, 1 or 2 things with a client, right, then that might help their family. So if I'm helping a client, you're going to help one on a macro level. So I think it's important for us to continue this dialogue, continue. All of us at this table obviously have the same passion, because we wouldn't be here. But we have to also reach back and get those other people who say, you know, I've arrived and I'm done. Because there's some of us that are like that. I'm going to be honest with you. And so we've got to get those people and bring them to the table. And if they don't want to come to the table, we got to continue to do what we have to do. But we've got to get out of that mindset that I've arrived and I can't help anybody. And I think that's one of the things that I sometimes see, and I hate to say this, but in our culture. We've got to be able to get out of that crab in the barrel mentality, because other cultures do it. You may have Asians, 10 of them living in a house, and they're going to get that one person to get that house, and once that person gets the house, the next Asian person's getting the house. That's what they do. We have to be able to do that. And so I'm very passionate in really getting all of us to the table, but also empowering us to help one another. I'm at Central, and I say to my students, you know, if you got a book and your fellow person next to you don't have a book, because you know how much it is to cost for books, right? Mm-hmm. And this person is sitting there with no book, you better ask them, do they need help with a book? And that's just how I roll with my students. You know, why are we walking around campus not speaking to one another? Hello and a smile is free, okay? And so I'm always in good trouble. I dance to my own drummer's beat. And honestly, being the fact that I've danced to my own drummer's beat, I think it has closed some doors for me. Because if it's a duck and it walks like a duck, we're going to change that duck. I'm not going to sit here and let the duck be similar. And I think that's why a lot of times we're at where we're at, because we don't have people that want to. Well, we do have people. But I think people are scared to kind of try to make a difference and to kind of stand. And sometimes young people, you got to stand alone. You know, when you want to make a difference or you want to make a change, you got to stand alone sometimes, because everybody's not going to always be your cheering squad. So I want to challenge us as people to stop the crab in the barrel mentality and to help one another. And it can be even. But we need to do that.
Indeed, kindness is free. Yeah, every now and again, you got to pull out your own pom-poms. So, indeed, man. Do me a favor, Matthew, can you give Dex the mic? Yeah, thank you, sir. So, Dex, same thing, man. Like, what's the accomplishment or something that you're most proud of yourself for?
Yeah, realizing my voice had value. and that I'm an influencer. Because I do a lot of self-reflecting, and a lot of times I don't think people do enough self-reflecting, in my opinion. But I love to self-reflect, and when I realized that my voice had value and I should use it more, right, in my own organization. So being with the Y 20 years, 11 years ago, I started to use my voice to influence change within my own organization, and that was about addressing institutional, structural, and systematic racism and the impact that it's had. And with me being the first black executive director in the history of this organization that has been around for 150 years, right? If I didn't realize my voice had value, right, I'd have been timid in addressing what's happening in our own backyard, right? And so after doing that, other people start to bring me to the table, and I've been able to influence organizations on a national level around addressing systematic, institutional, and structural racism in our country, because it is the core of everything that we as black folks suffer. And when we start talking about why we don't see the humanity in one another, because that's essentially what it is on black crime, it's we don't see the humanity in one another. Now, people have been killing each other since the beginning of time. It's biblical. But the reality of it is, when you don't see the humanity in somebody, and it starts with something as small as looking somebody in the eye and speaking to them, right, to let them know that they actually matter, that is huge. And so for me, understanding that it boiled down to race in this country, because when skin color became a thing during the Bacon's Rebellion, and the indentured servants realized, the white indentured servants from Europe realized that they were white, it was when they tried to run away from the plantation with a black man. And that's when color became a thing in this country. So, if you're in a situation, right, and you would a person of color, and you're not, right, a person of color, but you see injustice, but how injustice is impacting that person of color, are you still going to stand with them, right? Are you going to suffer the same thing? Are you willing to suffer the same thing that they are going to suffer? And I think when people started to separate themselves in that way, right, you started to see, even in our own culture, we started to move away from our own people. We start to move to the suburbs. We start to move away from our community, right, where we had each other's back. And that divide started to happen. And so race and racism is a true pandemic. That is a pandemic. Racism is a pandemic. And we have to call it out. When people talk about the 40 assets, right, or the 40 determinants of health, you know what I'm saying, in this system, in this society, they never talked about race and racism being a part of that. But it's the reason that those 40 determinants boils down to race and racism in this country. So, with that being said, me finding my voice and my purpose, and understanding that I must speak up and speak out every time I see injustice. And I'm gonna also get the knowledge and develop the skill to be able to articulate it in a way where it's palatable for everybody. Because it is an uncomfortable conversation, and it's so easy to bypass it and ignore it and not talk about it and say it's just an excuse, but it's not. It is a reality in America that we have to continue to address. But finding value in my voice.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Young King, what you think, sir? What are you most proud of?
All right, so I'm only 17, so I ain't been in this world as long as I hope I will be, but I know I got a lot to learn. So I'm proud of me being able to adapt to any bad situation, whether that's getting hurt on the field or the court or having bad grades. I just want, I don't know, like, me being able to provide some other way, in any way other possible way. So
Yeah, I love it.
Do me a favor, pass it. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
That who you most proud of?
I'm gonna get to that. Let me be clear what I said earlier to Leo and to you. I believe in transformational changes here of what we're trying to do as Americans. Look, we name Black Americans, we Americans, right? But transactional stuff is very important too. So I wasn't picking transaction over transformational, just to be clear. I also believe that different people have to do different things. And what I mean by that is there's some people who are going to be spearheads for transformational stuff, and there's some people going to be spearheads for transactional stuff. We got to do all of it. We can't afford to not do all of it, right? So my focus, me personally, is transformational. Getting back to the crab in the barrel thing, crabs in the barrel is not real. You know what it really is? These are all remnants of us being slaves, right? Crabs in a barrel is still a remnant, a subsidiary of us being slaves, right? Whether it's dark-skinned slaves, light-skinned slaves, whatever. All that stuff falls into what I consider to be the transformational side of things, right? So I just want to be very clear with that. I'm not discounting anything that's transactional. I'm not discounting the three kids that are here today or none of that stuff. Some of us, we have to have transact. You know what I mean? Everybody we got to all pick it up and roll, right? So I just want to be very clear with that. I don't want nobody to misinterpret me and think that I'm thinking what we doing, whether it's small, whether it's one person, two person, ain't important. It's absolutely important, right? But none of that stuff is going to matter either. Either meaning conjoining if we don't, have transformational change here. And the biggest thing we got going on is what I consider to be remnants of slavery, right? And so I just want to say that. But joy, for me, is really not even personal, man. One thing I realize is the biggest joy I ever found is bringing joy to others. So when I used to play, whether I played in a game at state or didn't play in the game at state, to see my mom and dad up in the stands cheering and the fireworks going off and the jets and all that stuff, they were happy as they could ever be. My little brothers and them was happy as they could be to come to a state game and watch me play or not play. So the biggest joy I ever seen coming from a two-parent household, neither one of my parents graduated college. My grandparents didn't graduate college. To see my dad at the PNC Arena a year prior to his death, to see him see me receive a PhD from North Carolina State University, I think that's probably brought me the most joy in my life. For me to have 20, 30 of my family members there at the PNC Arena watch me, the first doctor this family's ever seen, the first master's student this family's ever seen, just to see how happy they were with that. It didn't mean nothing to me, to be honest with you, as far as how much work I did and all that. But to see my daddy and them take them pictures and be happy and be out there with them white folks, right? Because it won't too many black boys out there. If it was 1,000 students out there, it was probably 15 black people out there, and I was one of them. So that's probably the proudest I've ever been. Word up.
Thank you for that. What do you think she did?
So the question is, what am I most proud of?
Yeah, what are you most proud of? What's something you're most proud of?
Man, for starters, man, I would go with, man, my family. Man, I have a beautiful family. And, man, we're a happy family. So, man, that's, seeing, 20 years in this profession and seeing, man, all of the bad stuff that I've seen and just the worst that people live through day in and day out. Man, sometimes I feel guilty about it because it makes me appreciate, man, what I have and, just the beauty of my family that much more because I see the worst that life has to offer, so many people. And so, man, just having a beautiful family that, man, like I enjoy going home, where I know there's a lot of people that don't enjoy going home, to their family. So that absolutely is probably what I say I'm most proud of. And then just the other side of, man, what I've been able to accomplish, and, just, like I said, man, make your family feel proud, man, make your parents proud, and all those things. I have my swearing-in ceremony is coming up in a couple weeks for Apex, and it's not a big deal to me. This is work, man. I got work to do. But for everybody else, man, it's such a big deal, and such a big accomplishment, and so. Man, it's more of a headache for me leading up to it. But in the moment, man, I know I'll appreciate it a lot more just because, man, there'll be so many people sitting there that know that they played a part, in this happening and things like that. And so, just being able to share in that is something that I'm proud of.
Thank you all for sharing. I've been doing a lot of listening myself, taking in all the gems. If I did want to approach this one question quickly with self-assessment, my biggest thing that I do, and I'd encourage you all to do if you're not already, is just writing down the things that you want to do. Whether that's putting it in front of you, cutting out pictures, that'll certainly help you to start achieving the goals before you even realize it. Self-management, take the time to breathe. We did an exercise on our show Sunday where it's like you don't really realize how you breathe throughout the day, or don't breathe, or to truly take those breaths, get some exercise, walk away from the desk, the computer, and kind of focus on your own mental before you just keep going and wearing yourself out. And what was the last one? Self-improvement. There was a question asked earlier today in regards to what are you most proud of, or your accomplishments. In the last, let's say, 7 years, I try to write in my journal as often as I can to document what did I do well today, or what did I accomplish this year. And it's nice to go back on that, 2 years later, 3 years later, and be like, oh man, not only was I able to accomplish this thing, but how did I accomplish this? And it really makes you feel good over time. So I know as we wrap up, and I know you have a few questions as well, a few comments. I would certainly encourage us all to get to know each other better, whether it's on social media, whether it's in future platforms. We certainly want to be as invested in the work that you're all doing from your various corners. We wish you the best of luck in whatever the endeavors, whether it's HBCU president, city council, chief, future scholars, and we certainly want, and star athletes. I've heard some good things about you as well. We certainly want to make sure that we're investing in each other as much as we possibly can, and spreading the word for not just this event, but many events that we're all doing collectively so that we could be a part of it. So that was all I wanted to say, but I'll pass it back to you, Troy.
So again, thank you for a great night. I appreciate you guys taking the opportunity to come out to our young people. I hope you got something out of it. I hope you did. I hope this conversation, the experience. Somebody used one of my favorite words as part of one of our cornerstones for YM4C, but exposure. I didn't have this when I was 15, 16, 17 years old. So I holistically hope that tonight you have found favor, you have found confidence, you have found wise counsel, and hopefully supporters as you guys continue. And for those that are at this, what really got me too, I didn't know that you were a band teacher. I didn't know that. I didn't know you played the baritone. I didn't do that intentionally. So it was a great night of confirmation for me too. And understanding, all right, brother, you're going in the right direction. Keep doing what you're doing. With that being said, I want to do something really quick. My 2 words for you, for our young people when we talk about self-assessment, Bishop always said this to me, and it resonates with me even when he's not here. Celebrate progress. Celebrate progress, man. If you were better than you were yesterday, celebrate progress. If you went from a C to a B, celebrate progress. I'm going to stretch this one. But if you were around your homies and you used foul language 10 times and now you're doing it 2 times, celebrate progress. All right? Never forget that. Never diminish the great things that you do. All right? That's the part of self-assessment. Every now and again, I got to tell the enemy to check my resume. because I am who I say I am. And that's the greatness, that's the boldness, that's the voice. Because remember, all of the words that I use, remember what they started with. Self. It's truly all about you. And then how you add to that is the people that you hang around. That's it. All the other stuff, man, will mature based on your diligence. So that's what I want to leave with you guys, man. Really quickly, I know this is going to take a second. I do want to take pictures because I want to capture this moment. But you have a menu in front of you. I want everybody to sign it and pass it to your left. If we do that 11 times, use the area in the top. So this area that's surrounding the bro code, you can sign there. So you just sign it and pass it to your left. So, no worries. So that way everybody will have a signature of a person. If you want to put a little note on there, that's fine. If you want to say who you are, that's dope too. A positive quote. You know, tonight we've talked about many things. I've heard words like intentional. I've heard words like leverage. I've heard words like servant leader, and all of those are important in the work that we do individually and collectively. So I'm gonna leave you with this one. This one has been ringing bells with me. And it's really simple. It just says, many hands make light work. And as a servant leader and as a visionary, that has been one of the most important tools with the growth and the capacity of our mentoring program and the way that we serve in the community, because that's really what it's about. And my last one is a fist, not a finger, right? We could do a little bit by ourselves, but we could do a whole lot more together. And that's the knockout power. That's when people listen. Right? So I would encourage us to continue to have collective economics, right? And do things together. And continue to have conversations like this. So peace and hair grease. It's your boy, Bro Troy, AKA Mr. YM4C, but better known as Coach TJ. And we are the Bro Code. So, we out. We getting ready to take pictures. Yeah, we gonna get up out of here.
How was everything?
It was excellent, man. Thank you. Yeah. We're gonna do it.